All right. It's live now?
Now we are live.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Better be on my game.
Well, you're already not on your game. I can tell you that, pal.
I mean, I got a haircut this morning. I feel like I'm, at least visually, on my game. At least from the neck up.
Ooh, too much information.
Yeah. So, Beau.
Yes.
We're at your place today.
Welcome to my humble abode. If you have audio issues, I apologize. Before I knew I was renting from this place, I didn't know how. As you can tell, that's my upstairs neighbors, and they suck. Like I just.
What if they're avid followers of the podcast?
I don't care. Good riddance. Don't listen to me. I can tell you, I don't think they even read a book.
Oh yeah.
They play basketball up there, I think, or they just body slam each other like it's WWE. You know, like LA Knight versus Roman Reigns or something like that. I don't know. And they can probably hear me right now. But
speaking of WWE, you know what I really want to do one of these days?
What's that?
Go to a WWE match. It's live.
So do me and
Just
Emma.
for the people watching.
Oh my goodness. Lucky for you, February 1st.
Oh, is it coming? February 1st?
Monday Night Raw at the Enterprise Center.
Whoa, we may have to go to that.
Oh yeah.
What night of the week is it?
It's a Monday. Because Monday is Raw.
Yeah.
Friday's SmackDown, Tuesday's NXT, and then AEW is like some other time.
Yeah.
Why do I know all this information? Because me and Emma like to watch WWE on those days. Well, how did we get into this? It started as a joke.
Yeah.
We were like, this is going to be the dumbest and most ridiculous thing.
And then you just got super into the storyline.
It was freaking hilarious.
Yeah, you want to hear a funny story?
So corny.
Speak about that?
Yeah.
So obviously, I didn't grow up with wrestling.
Neither did I.
I'm not done with my story yet.
I just want to say that neither did I.
You want to interrupt me, my story?
You can go ahead.
Yeah. So
I just wanted to make sure that it was like, I did not watch wrestling as a
You just
kid.
wanted to get that out there.
Yeah.
You wanted to establish that fact for our audience. But no, growing up, I didn't get into it because I was like, oh, that's fake wrestling. Why would I want to do that? And then I got to Bradley, and there was a guy on the team. Mm-hmm. You know, he was a genius. He transferred from Stanford, so creme de la creme, at least intellectually. Mm-hmm. He was actually a pretty good player too. And we were down on a trip to Florida for our spring break trip, and he's like, dude, you want to watch WWE tonight? I'm like, no. And I'm just like thinking, this is this super smart kid who is like super into like fake wrestling. Like, what is the deal here?
Well, so I was doing a little research a few weeks ago while we were at work, and one of the things is that there's an actual like academic movement about like why is wrestling matter when you fully know that it's just flat out wrong. Yeah, I mean, and it's essentially what it does is it simulates, modernizes these heroic tropes that have been passed down. Ancient mythology, hero versus villain, good versus evil. Like it's basically just that to the most obscene version. So I mean, that's why it's kind of cool.
Well, I mean, if you really, really simplify it, it's no different than a novel.
Absolutely not.
It's a story.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm
saying if you really, really simplify it, like at its most basic form.
Our favorites are Rhea Ripley, Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, Jey Uso, and
so has WWE always been around, or like
it used to be WF and then WCW.
I mean, like was Hulk Hogan in it, or is he something completely different?
No, he was like, I think he was like when it was called WWF.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
What's up?
That guy has not changed in like 30 or 40 years.
No, not at all. I don't think he's aged since he hit 40, and he just stayed the same.
I wonder if when he was wrestling, he like actually dyed his mustache white.
Absolutely,
it's been white for 40, 50 years.
Absolutely, and plus they used as much like hairspray to cause a lot of greenhouse gases in the and just freaking pollution. I don't know. I had a joke there and I just bombed it. Anyway, how are we doing today? Glad you're here with us.
Yeah, it's our first day of break.
Thank goodness.
You know why? Thank goodness. Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Whoa! Yay! Yeah, for all of you that don't know what Thanksgiving is, it is a messed up holiday historically.
Oh, gosh.
And we
Beau.
just stuff ourselves full of food. And we welcome in the holiday season.
We give thanks for what we have.
That is what it is now. But we were giving thanks to who?
God.
Okay, never mind. I don't know where I was going with that. It's a messed up holiday, historically.
And now, folks, if this is your first episode, you clearly realize the difference politically between me and Beau.
Yes. That's also probably a good thing to start off with, other than the diatribe about WWE.
Yeah.
We've been recording with each other for almost a year now.
Or a little more than that, probably.
Yeah, I think, we're a little over a year.
I think the first episode was last September.
I thought it was October.
September, October. We're in November, buddy.
But either way, my case is, for those of you who are finally jumping on our little train here, this bandwagon that we have, we have a nice little following. If you don't understand what we're doing here, let me sum it up for you. We are both literary nerds in general, that have differencing opinions on everything else except for art. Yet that we also have differencing opinions about the things that we share that we like. So,
but we're able to talk about it and remain friends.
Yep.
So, Beau, you know what I like to think? I like to think we're an example for the world.
I agree. I like discourse.
Yep.
I really do get my gears going when somebody, doesn't have the same. I like the combatant side of things.
The gumption.
Yes.
But do you need a bottle opener? I see you trying to twist that off.
No, I'm not trying to actually twist it off. I'm just trying to talk with my hands while also not making a noise.
Okay.
Frick, I had something good. Oh, this is a warning, actually. Sorry for but yeah, fair warning. We're going to be hitting on possibly some heavy themes, some topics that will definitely slide into politics. If you don't agree with me, let me apologize to you. If you don't agree with Brett,
you can apologize to me.
And we'll apologize to all of you. We're not trying to harm anybody or whatever. I genuinely like my ideas.
As dumb as they may be.
If you don't agree with it, hit me up on Instagram. You can DM me directly there. Brett controls the Twitter.
Yeah.
Formerly Twitter.
Well, X,
now is
formerly
X.
no Twitter.
Whatever.
Speaking of that, you know what?
Or you can email us at
onceuponatome22 at gmail.com. You know what's really frustrating?
Yeah.
So in every article I read, this is not political at all.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, let's go.
Yeah, no. And they always say Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter. It's it's been X for months now. You don't have to keep saying formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, but it's been Twitter since I was sophomore in high school, which was probably 2011, 2012.
I still say it's Twitter, but I think Twitter and X, they're the same thing, so it doesn't really matter what you use.
I think it was stupid to change it anyway. I don't care for Elon Musk in general, so I don't have a problem with it. It's just a mouthful. You know what I mean?
X is a mouthful?
No, Twitter, formerly known as X.
Oh, yeah.
But some people still call it Twitter.
Yeah.
And I bet you he wants people to just start calling it X, but who cares? It disrupts democracy either way.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's a marketplace of ideas. There's no way that can disrupt democracy.
The very essence of the marketplace and democracy do not mix.
Whoa. Do we want to open that can of worms or do we want to get into it?
I want to open this bottle of Topo Chico.
All right. Yeah, the unofficial sponsor of the Once Upon a Tome podcast is Topo Chico.
That was a good segue.
Yeah.
I thought you planned that.
Ready? Nope. Let's see. Can Beau get it open without spilling? Oh, it struggled to get it off. It took 2 tries for you. It's always something with you, Beau.
I just bent it a little bit more than I should have.
Yeah. You watch how it's done. I've never even used this can opener before. It functions as a bottle opener too. But you know what? Got it off in one try.
That wasn't as smooth as you thought it was.
No.
Don't let him fool you, folks. If we were recording on video right now, you would see that he's extending the truth to
the world.
A lie. Now it's not even a thing anymore.
Yeah, I could say the same thing about you, Beau. But you know what? I'm a nice guy, so I choose not to. Ooh, look at that carbonation. Yeah, for the record, if you've never had Topo Chico, it's the greatest water in the world. Not even a doubt. Nothing even comes close.
Nothing. Not even Pellegrino. This is fine dining right here, my friend.
Boom.
Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. Proust, we're waving the flag.
We're throwing in the towel.
White flag is out. We're like Roger Moore at the end of A View to a Kill, when he throws a white towel on the bathroom floor and gives you a little wink. We're saying arrivederci, bon voyage,
adios,
goodbye.
Yeah, so probably, we're going to intro this episode kind of giving our final thoughts on Proust, and then we're going to transition to David Copperfield, which is our new one.
Yeah. I'm really excited about that.
Before we get into Proust, though, can I give an update?
Yes, give us some updates, please.
So, you ready for it?
Oh, I was born ready.
We've officially passed the 1,000 download mark.
Boom, boom, boom,
so, zip-a-da-doo-da! Guess how many downloads we have?
Not near that many. 500.
Well, zip-a-da-doo-da is not a number, so.
No.
You say 500.
1,000. Yeah, I said 500.
After I said we passed the 1,000
Well,
mark.
because when I'm on Apple Podcasts, I don't have automatic downloads. I don't know why. It just makes me nervous.
Yeah. I don't do either, because if you have automatic downloads for all of your podcasts, it's going to fill up your phone
That's
storage.
why it makes me nervous. So
according to Podbean, which is the server I use, we have 1,030 downloads.
Whoa! So there's 30 people out there who probably hated it so much that they didn't want to.
I mean, you could say that. I don't really know the breakdown, but I know we're in a lot of countries. That's good. Yep. And then, want to hear an email update?
Nothing.
But if you are listening out there, please send us an email, onceuponatome22@gmail.com. Or you know what, Beau? I'm going to throw this out there.
Yeah.
I think we're going to extend our merch offer to if you reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram. How do you feel about that?
Then I'm in some debt because we have some good friends who text me sometimes.
Okay.
Text each other about books.
Okay.
Maybe I'll have
Should
to.
we just limit it to Twitter?
No.
Or formerly known as that, or X, formerly known as Twitter.
No. Here's how we'll do it. Okay. Oh, my thigh something just popped.
Ooh, did you do squats yesterday? I did squats yesterday.
I had legs today.
Yeah.
And then I ran for 2 miles. Oh, that hurt. So, if you are what I call a friend, compatriot in arts, and we have had discussions previously, hit me up soon. Be like, hey, give me a card. And I will ask for where to send it to. If you don't feel comfortable with that, just give me a, hey, bud. Appreciate you.
Just give me the address of your mom or something. Or some random P.O. box.
Your enemy. There's somebody that just grinds your gears. Give me that address, and I will send them.
Or here you go.
A terrible baseball card.
I got it, Beau.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Go for it.
If you're out there and you have an arch enemy and you enjoy conflict, we will send a card and a letter with your name on it, but to your enemy's address. With hopefully he or she will take it to you, and you'll be able to have that confrontation.
Yeah, if you really want.
If you really dig on confrontation and conflict, we'll make that happen for you.
Chaos. Some people just want to watch the world burn, Mr. Wayne.
Mr. Wayne.
Is that a good Michael Caine? No, it's not very good.
That's pretty good.
Oh, thank you.
He just retired.
I know. Finally. Dude's 90 years old.
Yeah.
Wish I looked that good when I'm 90. I won't live that long, but that's okay.
Never say never.
Any other updates?
Nope.
That's fine.
Yep. So why don't we start by wrapping up Proust, and then we'll segue on.
I like it.
So, as we already mentioned, we could not get through Proust. At the onset, our wish was to get through all 7 volumes of the In Search of Lost Time series. If nothing else, because it's very influential, and it looks really great on a bookshelf, and it's awesome to say you've read it. But after we got through the first volume, and then about 160, 70 pages into the second one, I think Beau had already given up, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Especially, not that I couldn't do it, but when I thought about how much longer it would take me to get through everything at the rate I was reading, I was like, it's not worth it to torture myself like this.
No, I would say that my grandmother on my mom's side used to say, dang, you're going to keep doing that?
Yeah, my bad. For those of you out there, I keep hitting my glass of Topo Chico, or my bottle of it, on the mic. So I'm a noob. My apologies.
My wonderful grandma, called her Mama, on my dad's side, died when I was 7, but I remember her telling me, you ate with your eyes, boy.
What, you ate with your eyes?
Yeah, saying that I took too much on my plate and I couldn't finish it. And her deal was that if you put it on your plate, you have to eat it, because that's just rude if you don't.
It's a great value.
It is. So
were you always part of the CPC club?
The what?
CPC club, Clean Plate Club.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really just, I don't know, it's rude, but whatever. If you have a small stomach, that's fine. A friend of ours, Waste Mailing List, gave me a nice little quote to use.
Oh yeah,
and
he's in my feed all the time.
He's a good. I like him, like them. Anyway, he said of Proust, a writer in search of an editor, a man in search of a therapist. And that is just...
That's pretty much the epitome of Marcel Proust.
That's all. That's it, folks. That's all, folks. Like,
yeah.
I see the importance, but maybe I'm just not skilled enough yet, and I don't want to waste any more time when we're trying to set up a consistency of putting content out there, and there's other things we both like to talk about. And
yeah, at some point you just have to. Sometimes you just have to throw in the towel. I mean, I can count on one hand the number of books I haven't finished.
I can't. That's how much it pained me to tell you that I can't do this, because I can't not finish a book.
Yeah,
even if I hate it,
yeah,
I have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if it was just like a single book or two, but the fact that there were, even beyond the volume, we were reading 5 more that only got longer, is like, it's torture.
There's like a specific type of like horror novel that I like, and it's typically like supernatural stuff, and it's gothic, so like Poe, Henry James,
Stoker,
anything of that, or Shirley Jackson I adore.
Yeah.
But like the serial killer stuff, like in general, it just makes me feel gross inside, especially when I'm reading it. Like slasher films are corny as heck from the 80s, right?
Yeah.
But there's some of those that like true crime documentaries, that stuff makes me like my skin crawl. So when I'm reading it, it's so hard for me to finish. I did that with one novel, The Girl Next Door. I was told it's like one of the most controversial books, and it's worth reading. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it, because like transgressiveness, I hated it. I hated reading it. But I was like, you know what? Finish it, because then you'll remember next time you try and get freaking confident, to do something, to read a book like this that you found on Reddit. You'll think better next time. I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of that book, I'm sorry. I really just despised it.
Yeah.
Everything about it.
Yeah, I don't read much horror. I think actually the only one I've read, I think it would say good horror, the original Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Oh,
that is like,
we could do a whole episode about that.
Oh yeah, well, especially with the new film coming out next year.
No, we got a schedule now, baby.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what we'll have to do? We'll have to go to the Chase to watch somebody play the original silent film with the organist.
Yes.
Then we'll see the latest version. Then we'll talk about it.
We should also watch the Werner Herzog version, which is pretty great.
I thought he only did documentaries. He has
adaptations
too.
He started out as just a feature film. I mean, he didn't start doing documentaries until later on. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Nosferatu the Vampire.
Yeah.
Or
but honestly,
Symphony of the Night is really, or Symphony of the Vampire.
Okay.
I watched it a few years ago. I like Bruno Ganz a lot. I think he's a great actor. I think Klaus Kinski plays Nosferatu.
Okay. Oh yeah. But like I know you know this about me, but you know I don't really get attached to characters and you know novels and stuff. But Dracula was the only book I've ever read where I literally like jumped at one point. It's like
that's how I felt about reading the original Exorcist.
Yeah.
I think that is genuinely an exceptional book.
Who wrote that?
William Peter Blatty.
Okay.
Theologically speaking, it's heavy. It dives more. I mean, I think the film is perfect. Also, it's like in my top 5. That made me shiver.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of Poe's work makes my skin crawl in a great. Yeah. Not in the sense of like the other book, but in this way, like it existentially weighs on me. I take that kind of. I take that more seriously, you know, intellectually than I do.
Yeah.
Just like some random, like American Psycho. I get the importance of. I mean, it is American Psycho is a good book, but like for me, supernatural horror has always been my thing.
Yeah, I gotcha.
That has nothing to do with Proust, though.
No.
Other than the fact that I find it difficult.
But you know what we do have with Proust?
Memories.
Well, we have that, but.
Oh.
My girlfriend who speaks French.
Congratulations.
about time, right?
About time.
Yeah, sure. My dad's happy too. She's a huge fan of the podcast. Shout out to Amanda. I'm not going to reveal your last name because privacy.
That would be weird.
But she actually made us Madeleines when I told her we were doing the show.
Whoop, whoop.
So
we don't have tea though, so
we don't. I thought about bringing some, but I was like, maybe Beau has some.
I can make some tea, but it's too late now.
But so there, you can't really see it, but there is a giant bowl in the middle of our table with some Madeleines, which are they're kind of like seashell shaped if you've never seen them before. But yeah,
it's a terrible picture, but the lighting is.
Let me try one of these.
Oh,
they're a French delicacy.
Yes, I like the texture already. I can tell it's gonna have a nice crunchy outside.
These are good, man.
Is it?
This bowl might be maybe empty by the time we leave here today.
I'm telling you, pal.
Yeah.
You're not taking some of these home. I'm keeping some of these.
What if we just had like an entire podcast where we're just like eating the whole time? Like we didn't talk, we just ate.
So let me talk to you about critical theory and David Copperfield. I could hear the chew, like the smacking in my own.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh,
these are exceptional.
10 out of 10. I'm gonna have another one here.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, reach out and we'll send you the recipe.
If you dare, but don't expect a card because we're already giving you a recipe.
I don't know. I think we could.
No, I'm joking. Send us we'll send you a card. It's not gonna be Nolan Ryan though.
No, we'll send you a card. Send you the recipe. We'll send you a signed picture of us.
Yep. Anyway, back to Proust.
So, what are your final thoughts, Proust? So, why don't you go first? And I do have some thoughts on him.
Oh man,
and some quotes I pulled.
So you're a better man than me. I got to about page 60, realized that I just don't know what the heck was happening. I realized we were still in the same scene. What's the right word here? In terms of like objective writing, it's exceptional. The way that you can pull out memories regardless and thin them out till it's to its like most minute detail is skill.
Yeah, for sure.
Reading about it is just daunting. It's like reading the unabridged version of Les Mis, and he goes on for 30 pages about the sewer system in France. Don't care. Now, at the time period, it mattered, but as a reader in 2023, I just don't care. Yeah. And Swan's Way was an exceptional piece of work, but if I could do that times 7 and the books just keep getting bigger, we were gonna be doing. We would have to be restructured as a Marcel Proust appreciation podcast, which no one probably wants.
No, I mean, I think, if we had Leaf by Leaf on here, he would probably change our minds.
There's a lot of people that were on here which school us.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's such a highly regarded series that it was such a disappointment to finally have to throw in the towel. I say have to. We didn't have to, but we chose to.
I think about having a midlife crisis, about, when I get to that age.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy a motorcycle. I wouldn't get a tattoo. I would be like, you know what? It's time to read Proust. I'm in the twilight of my life anyway.
Well, yeah.
That's how dull of a person I am.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway, you continue about some of your thoughts, because you're going to have better ones, and it's going to be more.
So yeah, my thoughts on Proust are a little complicated. Definitely in terms of, and maybe you'll agree with this, maybe you won't. I think you will, though. I definitely think his insight into human nature is impeccable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having a cookie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, indubitably.
His insight into human nature is incredible. But yeah. So I from the 160-ish pages I got in the second volume, which I believe is In the Shadow of Young Girls in Flower. I did pull a few. Would you like to hear some of them?
Mm-hmm.
So these are just quotes that I felt really captured a certain topic. So this one is about novelists. We have a literature podcast. So I think it applies.
It does.
You ready for this?
Yes.
So if you were following us using the same edition as us, this is on pages 55 to 56. It says, quote, "Theoretically, we are aware that the earth is spinning, but in reality, we do not notice it. The ground we walk on seems to be stationary and gives no cause for alarm. The same happens with time. To make its passing perceptible, novelists have to turn the hands of the clock at dizzying speed to make the reader live through 10, 20, 30 years in 2 minutes. At the top of a page, we have been with a lover full of hope. At the bottom of the following one, we see him again, already an octogenarian, hobbling his painful daily way around the courtyard of an old people's home, barely acknowledging greetings, remembering nothing of his past."
That is exceptional.
It is.
I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the kind of writing I love. That makes me want to highlight it, sit outside and ponder it, and come back.
And have a existential crisis.
Yeah. I mean, still working on all that, but
yes,
I do enjoy it still. It's not enough for me to have a Bill Murray moment, that's for sure.
What's a Bill Murray moment? Like Groundhog Day?
So, yeah, I have part of some things that I'm doing is recognizing, it's called IFS, right?
Yeah.
And
what does it stand for? International Fielding System?
It's internal. This is going to bug me. Hold on.
Internal Feeling School?
Internal Family Systems. I should have. I knew it was internal systems. Yeah, internal family systems. It's like connecting your nervous system, realizing when that happens, what on your body, what effects, what effects are you feeling, kind of thing. Sorry, works wonders. I have coined my existential dread as Bill Murray, and it's that way because I love Bill Murray, love his work.
He's awesome.
I grew up watching him. My dad has based his entire personality on Bill Murray from Scrooged.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he looks exactly, to me when I was a kid, he looked exactly like Bill Murray, and I mean, he quotes that movie all the time. We're big Bill Murray people. If I meet Bill Murray, I know for a fact we would not get along because he's kind of confrontational sometimes. Also, we're on the different spectrum in terms of why we like baseball. He's a big Cubs fan. I despise the Cubs.
Yeah.
I don't despise the Cubs. I shouldn't say that. Wrigley Field is beautiful.
It's a friendly rivalry.
Ernie Banks is one of the best. Yeah, it is a very friendly rivalry, but you know what I mean. Cubs and Cardinals fans sometimes just clash. And
you have your loyalties. That's fair.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like, oh, it looks amazing, but if I dive deeper and deeper into it, the more I get scared and the more that I realize this is not a good place. Let me just go back. So we call it Bill Murray to give it less power over me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
A little bit.
Okay.
It's kind of like, the old saying, you never want to meet your heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, show.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bill Murray. I've heard stories that he's, his personality is not great, but I don't know what to think. I've never met the guy. Yeah. Because, you get that with every actor or actress. It's like, some person's like, oh, they treated me bad, or, but it's like, you're not there, so.
Yeah, I don't have a problem holding people accountable if they do something bad.
Yeah.
But I've come to the point where it's just, I assume that everyone is flawed.
Have you ever seen that? Well, ain't that the truth?
Yep.
You ever seen the documentary on Netflix about Bill Murray?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I so bad want him to, just show up at a random bar I'm at or at my wedding if I ever get married. Just, that'd be awesome. Yeah. I don't think I told you. So a buddy of mine was flying out to South Carolina, and Bill Murray was on his flight. And
Nice.
He's up behind him. He goes, "Are you who I think I am?" And Bill Murray just goes, he just smiled and turned away and walked to first class.
He walked to first class. That makes it better.
Yeah.
Now that's comedic gold.
Oh, it is.
Shoot.
Was he
one of my favorite stories of Bill Murray? I don't want to be sued for, lies and whatever.
Hey, it would get us attention though.
It would.
So let's let's
stir the pot.
Let's make it a goal to be sued by Bill Murray. No. Or some famous
he would
celebrity.
Ruin us. One of my favorite stories about Bill Murray, I love Wes Anderson. I know some people might be getting tired of his style. I am not one of those. I adore everything he does. My favorite Bill Murray story is when they were working on the Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah.
Him and Angelica Houston.
Yep.
They showed up even when they weren't supposed to on set to hang out with Wes because they were afraid that Gene Hackman was kind of going to walk all over him. And he was very protective of Wes. And I don't know what that. I always stuck with that story. Saying, that's lovable.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel about Wes
Anderson.
And
you read about Groundhog Day, you're like, ugh.
So for those of you out here who don't know me, I love Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Well, no. I love mostly his early stuff. Even though his later stuff is objectively filmed brilliantly, I think he intentionally makes his characters a little too quirky. Now, along that, his most recent films, the last 3 or 4, they've kind of been more along the stage of a filming of a play. And I'm not a huge playwright, so maybe that's the reason I don't like him. I mean, I didn't like Grand Budapest.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like. I wasn't crazy about The French Dispatch. Asteroid City was decent, but I just think his characters at this point in time they're just intentionally quirky. Whereas with his earlier ones, they're just quirky enough that they're still believable.
I think he's one of the most important filmmakers today.
Oh,
simply because when you see it, it's recognizable. Yep. You know exactly what it is. And we studied him for a reason.
I still haven't watched any of his shorts on Netflix. His adaptations of Roald Dahl.
I haven't either. Okay, back to Bruce. Sorry for these digressions.
You know what, though? I think our listeners enjoy the digressions.
Well, we know one doesn't. Highly respected figure.
Yes. So I have 3 quotes left. And 2 are related. I'm going to read the 2 and then I think the last one will be a nice segue into David Copperfield. Even though I don't know anything about it. You okay joking there, buddy?
I realized I ate half of that Madeleine.
In your mouth? You just swallowed half of it?
No, I ate half of it in the microphone towards the mic. I apologize. I'm so sorry. These things are so good.
Good thing you're the editor. Shout out to Amanda. Yeah, hopefully you can edit that out.
I'm not.
So, these 2 quotes are about relationships. Are you ready for them?
Oh, yeah.
So the first one goes. So I'll read one, give a little pause. I'll read the second one. So it says, when we look at the person we love, our inquisitive, anxious, demanding gaze, our expectation of the words that will make us hope for or despair of, another meeting tomorrow. And until those words are spoken, our obsession fluctuating between possible joy and sorrow, or imagining both of these together, all this distractions our tremulous attention and prevents it from getting a clear picture of the loved one. So keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the second one. A sadness caused by somebody one loves may be bitter, even when it happens amid a round of pastimes, joys, and preoccupations which are extraneous to that person and which, except for brief moments, divert our minds from it. But when such sadness comes right at the moment when we are basking in the full delight of being with that person, as was my case with Gilberta, the sudden depression which replaces the broad, tranquil sunlight of our inner summer sets off within us a storm so wild that we may doubt our ability to weather it.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's like a rolling wave, man.
Yeah.
I think once you hit the top, you'll gently fall down, and then all of a sudden you're up again. And
yeah, it's like, when yeah, go ahead.
If you took each individual like analogy and alliteration, whatever, you take all of, if you separate that out beautifully, compact it all in one little excerpt, oh man, come on, get to the point. See, Virginia Woolf could write that same thing in like half the words.
Yeah. See, with those two quotes, I didn't feel like he was all that wordy. I mean, don't get me wrong, he is wordy, but I think with those, I don't think it's definitely not his worst.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it is exceptional. It's like Gustave Flaubert, right? Have you ever read Madame Bovary?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent book.
I've read that and Sentimental Education.
Ooh. See, I've only read Madame.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway, that whole like modernist people, the modernist writers, they were so obsessed with just little excerpts of life. Women who don't do much of anything, or not, or just like random gardeners that don't do anything, like just rural life where nothing happens, and they write out just extremely just beautiful prose about it.
Yeah.
Just you have to get to the last 70 pages for the big reveal, or in Madame Bovary, how that ends. Oh, wonderful. It's just so much. Like nothing happens. Nothing.
Yeah. Well, to me, it just kind of, those quotes speak of just the dynamics of relationships. Like if you're in love with somebody and you're expecting something really good, and then all of a sudden, boom, something unexpected happens, or your lover says something unexpected, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
you're not really sure how to process it.
No, I mean, and this is also coming from a man whose the perception of it is now far into the future, right? So he's just remembering this, so it's probably not even accurate to how it, but he has that, that sentimental view of things, and all sentimentality is a one big... Sentimentality is just when you don't understand anything in an objective level, so you just try and find it. Mm-hmm. You find your own reasoning. That's all it is. So, I mean, it's kind of tragic.
Do we know, did Proust have any lovers, any girlfriends, wives? Do we know?
I think that's up in the air.
Okay.
I believe... I think he might have been gay.
Okay.
I think that's up in the air, which makes it even more tragic.
Yeah.
I think we talked about his sexuality in our intro to him.
Did we? I know, it's been so long ago, I don't remember.
Yeah, I think we did. We touched upon it.
Yeah, maybe speculations he was, but no actual confirmation.
Marcel was a wonderful figure.
Who basically lived in the bed for the last 10 years of his life.
Yep, and wrote this.
And didn't edit much.
Nothing at all. Kind of like our podcast.
He was only able to edit the first volume before he died, right?
Right. Everything else I think was posthumous.
Yeah.
Or posthumous.
I've heard it said both ways.
It's posthumous.
But even afterwards, people don't edit it. Because remember in the introductions, it's like, there are typos in here. There are things that don't make sense.
Right.
Because they have to be, They have to give fidelity to the original text.
Good word.
What can I say? I'm a human dictionary. But are you ready for this last quote that I believe will do a nice segue in?
I hope so.
It's a very, very philosophical one. You ready for this?
Love philosophy.
It says, this is on page 133. It says, it may only be in a life deeply steeped in its vice that the moral question can arise with the full power of its anxiety. This question the artist answers, not off the plane of his individual life, but in the mode of existence that represents his true life. And the answer given is a literary one of general application. Just as the fathers of the church, good as they work, first had to practice the sins of all men, through which they found their own sanctity, so great artists, immoral as they are, often derive from their own vices a definition of the moral rule that applies to us all. So basically it gets to the question, in the Christian world, we have this debate, is sin essential? Do you have to sin? Inevitably we will. Mm-hmm. In a theoretical world we wouldn't. But without the knowledge of sin, we're not going to be able to repent of it and be saved. I think that's kind of what he's getting at here, is it's like our vices, our sins, are they necessary to go through that experience and be able to write about it, explain to people, like whatever.
That's a good take. I kind of took it a little different. Can I see your... Yeah. I want to be able to... Like I did that one episode. Yeah. See, which one am I looking at?
The one at the bottom.
The sadness caused by someone? No.
No. It should be on the bottom left.
Oh, it may only be a life deeply steeped in its vice? Okay. So part of my thesis that we'll kind of go into a bit with Dickens is that in order to vindicate yourself, right, you have to pull out the outside surroundings,
the outer layers of the onion.
I don't like using that analogy because I don't like onions. They're just stinky, but it's the same thing.
But you're pulling out the stinkiness.
It's true.
Boom.
But you know what I mean? Like, you can learn something from a work of fiction if the author uses the influence and structures of their life and world outside of them, and they can vindicate their own feelings through that. And part of that is also kind of, when he's talking about church fathers, that they're also fallible people.
Yeah, well, they're humans.
Exactly. One of these mad lambs.
Do you want me to scoot that bowl closer? Your little short dinosaur arms can't reach it.
I have T-Rex arms.
But what do you think about that? Are vices essential to life?
Yes.
Well, elaborate on that. So what I mean
there are many tiers we can go down.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to go into a huge diatribe on this, but are things that you feel that are inherently bad, in some cases, necessary?
Sorry.
In case you guys are wondering about the silence, Beau is chomping on a Madeline. Amanda, these are excellent.
This is a really heavy topic, because if we say that vice cannot exist, right, then we limit our own selves of our free will, because we also have the choices to do or don't do those certain vices. Now we have to start questioning evil, right?
Well, it's like, anytime anyone asks me, well, why do bad things happen in the world? I'm like, well, if everything was good, we wouldn't know what good was. You only know what good is because you observe bad. Right.
I don't know, man.
And if you don't want to go down this road,
you can. I mean, you could also take religion out of it and be like, well, what's virtuous and what's vice?
But how can you know apart from religion?
Because what I'm getting at is that certain laws will forbid certain things about people, and that's wrong. In terms of the structure of the law, a person's vice could be actual pleasure or virtue.
Yeah. That's dicey territory, though. Yeah. It's all relativism.
Yeah, it's very conditional, ain't it? So it's all relative. Man.
if you remove religion from it.
My head is like going in a hamster wheel right now.
Yeah. Well, we can move on.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to. I say that, and then I might want to. I mean, if you didn't have sin, what would be the point of being saved? You'd already be saved, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the doctrine of the fall of Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah.
It's already happened. We're a part of nature and a part from nature.
Yeah.
So I mean, we just got to live with it.
Yep.
That's not a good thing to end on. I don't know. You give me your thoughts.
Well, I would say that, okay, in and of itself, sin is obviously bad. And the fact that we can't escape it and it points us to Christ means it's essential.
Yeah, I mean, it's also part of the doctrine of forgiveness, redemption.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have those major themes without...
No, and I'm not saying it's essential, like you have to sin.
And we're not talking about like evil, right? Let's make a bold mark, line in the sand.
Well, you have to define evil. I would say all sin is evil because it's against God.
Okay.
So,
but there are certain things that we can both be like, okay, that is way too far,
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what the point I want to make is by saying sin is essential, it's not that I'm encouraging sin. It's just the fact that you can't realize your own sinfulness if you don't sin. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't realize how jacked up you are until you see where you've erred.
I agree. No, yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a part of you. It's a part of yourself. Yeah. Acknowledge it, and then separate yourself. I also don't think you really need... I don't know how much you need religion in order to... I think you can have a good moral basis without having religion. I do believe that, so...
That's all relative, though.
It's true. Everything's relative.
Well, if you take God out of the equation, where do you get your rules for life and stuff?
Your parents.
Where do they get them?
Well, you also are embedded with your own knowledge of good and what's good and wrong.
Well, what's good and wrong? If one person's good, it might be another person's wrong.
Yeah, but different religions have also different moral codings.
I'm just saying
And they're a lot of them are just the same stories over and over again.
I'm just saying when you remove God, when you remove a lawgiver.
But what's God, right? If we put our own moral quandaries upon God, then we limit what God kind of is. Because God wouldn't have to have this discussion of yin and yang over here. You know what I mean? Because God doesn't have the personality of us humans. I mean, we don't know what's behind us. We don't even know what's going ahead of us. All we have is the present moment.
Well, it depends on what your conception of God is. I mean,
right. If I was Presbyterian, I would say that I'm preordained.
But if you believe in Christ, he walked the earth as a man, so you can identify this.
That's true. But then again...
he was fully God, fully man, if you believe that.
Exactly.
I believe it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a moral person. I've messed up before, a lot of times. But, I mean, I didn't always really need God. Or what I thought was like a Christian God. I found virtue and comfort in the teachings of the Buddha. Yeah. Carl Sagan, he's a man. He's a man. He has some astounding works out there that it makes you, consider where you are in this life. I don't know. I like religion. I like reading about religion. But I wouldn't force it upon anybody.
No, I mean you can't force it. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, even as a Christian, I believe Christianity is the correct religion. Like, I'm not going to force it on people because Christianity it all goes back to the heart, and so if the heart's not in it, then what's the point? I mean, It's like Christ called out the Pharisees. They stood it outwardly, but their heart wasn't in it.
It's the heart of the matter.
That is the heart of the matter.
So let's get down like Graham Greene and Don Henley and get to the heart of the matter of Dickens.
Boom. All right. So for all you listeners out there, before we're doing this episode, we kind of talked about it and talked about how I would kind of lead the Proust side of it, the closing of Proust, and then Beau, since his novel was picked, kind of take lead on the David Copperfield discussion.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, I believe like my top 8, number 8 favorite novel of all time was Great Expectations. I think it was number 8.
Is that a shout out to the OG listeners?
Yep. I don't have a problem. And these freaking people, I can't stand them.
Well, that was actually me.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, that chair that just slid?
No.
Yeah. No, that chair that slid was me.
Well, okay.
Tried to set my foot on it and didn't realize how
they still upset me. I'm a big fan of Dickens. I think he's one of the most important novelists, writers, and people of his time period. I think many people agree with me here.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to read this one. I know my mom's read it, and she's been trying to get me to get on it for a while.
Are we going to get her on the podcast?
No, I think she likes just listening to my voice.
Oh, does she listen to us?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
She's also gotten some of her coworkers and bosses on.
Ooh, spreading the word of mouth. I like it.
I know, same. So, for those of you who have lived under a rock, probably don't know anything about Christmas, Charles Dickens was born February 7th, 1812, and died June 9th, 1870. He's created some of the most recognizable fictional characters and is regarded by many as the greatest novelist of the Victorian era.
Okay.
Scholars, academics, and any literary novice like us would probably rightfully consider him a literary genius. And if you've never heard of A Christmas Carol, like Ebenezer Scrooge, bah, humbug, or God bless us, everyone, if you've never heard that, Great Expectations, Oliver Twist, please, sir, may I have some more?
You know what I'm thinking about right now? You know what pictures are going through my head?
Jiminy Cricket?
No, like all the Wishbone adaptations of it.
I was going for a little Monty Python thing.
Yeah.
You've never heard of Bleak House? A Tale of Two Cities, It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Or Pickwick Papers, Hard Times, Nicholas Nickleby, and his magnum opus, masterpiece, and greatest achievement, David Copperfield.
Okay, I didn't realize David Copperfield is universally regarded as his magnum opus. I was thinking Great Expectations.
I think, or
A Tale of Two Cities.
I think it's definitely not A Tale of Two Cities. It's probably it would probably be, depending on who you ask.
It's
3
relative,
of his novels: Oliver Twist, A Tale of Two Cities, and I think Hard Times is very much, theorized and debated about. Great Expectations, I think I would put that in there as well, but I know there's a lot of things that are just completely unnecessary. I know that Dickens considered Copperfield his best work.
Okay.
He's stated that many times from what I've read in his journals to admirers.
So where was it written in terms of like Dickens' writing career? Was it in the beginning, middle, end?
Oh, we'll get to maybe we'll get to this, but it is the fork in the road. It is right in the middle of his life in terms of his career. It is a clear defining moment where he goes from the optimism of his earlier works to the socially conscious and still inventive. The characters are incredibly original, but darker.
Okay.
So it's right in the middle.
Okay.
And I think that's probably why people consider it his best work, is because it has the earlier tropes of optimism, but I mean it makes a clear critical look at his life and the world that he's living in.
Okay.
Also, Dickens was not the originator. I don't know if he was the inventor of, but he definitely popularized what we know as the cliffhanger. Okay. And I'm not just referring to the terrible Stallone movie. And somebody's going to be like, oh, why don't you like Stallone? I don't know. Let's see. In terms of, he's the most commercially and critically successful writer of his time period. Probably still at this time period. From the moment of November 1st to January 1st, everybody knows A Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
watches it in some capacity or even reads it if they're.
I would say probably to this day, in most lists, he would be a top 10 like English writer.
Absolutely.
At the very minimum in England.
I think he also, in terms of the English pantheon of literature, he's second only to. Come on, you know this. Everybody knows it.
Steinbeck?
No.
Hardy?
No. William Shakespeare.
Oh, well, Shakespeare wasn't an author. He was a
William
playwright.
Stratford upon Avon. In terms of like writing.
Okay.
Literary, regardless.
Okay.
In terms of sales, in terms of...
I guess I was thinking authors, so...
Sorry. You want to get into his little background? Or his humble beginnings, as we'll say?
Humble beginnings?
Yes. He was born in Portsmouth. It looks like Portsmouth, but I don't think it's
No, I guess Portsmouth.
Yeah. Portsmouth, Hampshire. He was the second of 8 children by Elizabeth Dickens, who was the model for Miss Nickleby and Miss Micawber in David Copperfield.
Okay.
Nickleby is obviously Nicholas Nickleby.
Yeah.
And John Dickens, model for Mr. Micawber. So his father was a clerk in the Navy Post Office, so he jumped around a lot in his life, in his childhood. But he was soon left alone to finish school because his family left for Camden Town from Kent. Okay. They did this because John Dickens had some debt, so he was kind of running around. Okay.
Like to avoid the debt or just to pay it off?
Pay it off.
Okay. Just kind of working odds in his jobs where he could make money? Okay.
Yes.
Do you know what he was in debt for?
I don't know. I think it was creditors of some sort. See what I'm talking about? Why? There's elephants upstairs. Elephants. Baboons.
Baboosh.
Can't stand it.
Babushka.
My babushka would be very quiet. So he was living beyond their means.
Yeah.
So Charles was left to school, and at a certain point, John Dickens was forced by his creditors into the Marshalsea debtors' prison in Southwark.
Okay. I forgot they used to have debtors' prisons.
Yes. So I don't know what...
They don't anymore, do they?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Due to customs at the time, family members you can take your family with you. So I don't know the logistics of whether they lived in the same place or if they lived in close proximity.
Yeah. You want to know something that I always found funny?
Yeah.
So, they used to have like debtors' prisons where if you couldn't pay your debt, they put you in jail.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, if you're in jail, how are you going to make any money? like when you get out.
Yeah. You couldn't make your money, so now you're making time.
Yeah.
So we've equivalated time to currency.
But does it actually pay off the debt?
I don't know. You wasted your life, and that's more precious than whatever debt you were in.
So let's say you owe me $50.
And you put me in prison.
I mean, do I put you in prison, or does the state put you in prison? And then when you get out, are you able to pay me? Or how does that work?
I think
does your family have to pay up the $50?
I think it probably. I think part of the thing that ate Charles up was that he had to work.
Yeah.
So once he had to drop out of that school that they left him at. He had to drop out at age 12 to support his family and himself. Okay. So what did he do? He worked 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week at Warren's blacking warehouse, earning 6 shillings a week. 6 shillings.
Do you know what the equivalent is today?
I didn't write that one down. There's another one that I wrote down later.
Inflation over 100 plus years.
Yeah. It's all constructs anyway. But the experience of the often harsh working conditions made a lasting impression and became the foundation of his interest in reforms for socioeconomic and labor conditions. So essentially, he was putting labels on pots of shoe polish. Or boot polish.
Yeah.
That's all that it was. Charles's mother died a few months into his father's sentencing. And she left him in 450 pounds, which is the equivalent of 53,633 in today's currency.
Okay.
Roughly. Yeah. I just plugged that in on Google, so I don't know how accurate that is.
I mean, Google never gets anything wrong, so.
And the most, true. The most heartbreaking thing.
Yeah.
And this is a theme that I think is a detriment to Charles Dickens and probably hinders him a bit.
Yeah.
Is I think this man held grudges.
Okay.
And he, his mother probably held grudges, and he never forgave her for that.
Oh, really?
You get it? It's a good joke.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, his mother was reluctant to remove him from child labor. She didn't want him to leave the factory because of the money that he was making. So I think he kind of held that against her, and I think he had some... I can't diagnose anybody, but he definitely had this, like... From his work, you can tell from the way that he treated his wife. It wasn't, like, abusive. I just think he was kind of aloof.
Yeah, a little neglectful.
Yes, there's the word. He was very neglectful. I think he reminisced about something that was intangible.
Okay.
I'm not trying to give meaning or, wash it down. But this hurt him. And this is a quote from Dickens. I had no advice, no counsel, no encouragement, no consolation, no assistance, no support of any kind from anyone that I can call to mind, as I hope to go to heaven. Also to note that Dickens was a Unitarian Christian.
Yeah.
So he's very critical of the Catholic Church.
Okay.
But Dostoevsky and I think Tolstoy consider him like one of the greatest Christian writers. So I put that in there for you.
Okay.
Because I know there's some other things you're a little worried about with Dickens.
Yeah. But I think so. Another criticism I've heard is that because he published all this stuff through journals, right? So newspapers.
Newspapers, yeah.
And so I think one of the criticisms is that because he got paid for every word, his works are unnecessarily long.
Some of them are.
Is that a valid criticism?
It might be.
I said, I've never read.
I think that is a valid. I think it's a valid criticism because I know David Copperfield's long, Bleak House, and Hard Times are all long.
Yeah.
Oliver Twist I think is kind of big, but I mean, A Christmas Carol is literally a short story.
Yeah.
So maybe that's probably a fair critique, but I don't think it ruins it. You know what I mean? Because the works were so popular in its original publication that like months later or even a year later they were published as novels and were as successful than they were in print. So Charles left the working house and he went to the Wellington House Academy in Camden Town for 2 years. And much of the haphazard, aimless teaching, poor discipline contrasted the sadistic brutality of headmasters that were eventually embodied by Mr. Creakle, or Mr. Creakle's establishment in David Copperfield.
Okay.
I mean, you've listened to Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Oh, yeah. One of the best albums of all time.
It is. How can you have your pudding if you can't eat your meat? For
the record, if you've never listened to The Wall, go lock yourself in a room.
Yeah.
Put headphones on and listen to it from front to
That's
back.
the key, though. Headphones on. There's a lot of like little details in the recordings. Yep. It's heavy, man. It's freaking heavy.
I told you about when I saw El Monstero outdoors, right, at Jefferson Barracks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you've never listened to The Wall, there's a part. It's a rock opera, all right. So there's a storyline throughout it, but there's a scene in there, or not a scene. There's an episode in one of the songs where there's a helicopter, and when I saw El Monstero, their Pink Floyd tribute band outside, they brought in an actual helicopter and like circled the crowd and shone a flashlight out of it. It was unreal. It was awesome.
Crazy. That's high production for a cover band.
That is. I mean, they're legit though. I mean, I think they're.
I just can't get down to cover bands. Just don't know why.
They're so good though.
So.
But anyways, I digress. Continue, Beau.
After school, Dickens had an affinity to become a theater actor, but he missed a certain audition because he had a cold.
Yeah. I thought you were saying because he had to work.
No, he had a cold, so then he became a writer. Okay. His first story was published in 1833. It is called A Dinner at Poplar Walk in Monthly Magazine. He then worked for the Mayor of Parliament as a political journalist.
the mayor of parliament. Okay, so what position is that?
No, he was.
You said the mayor of parliament.
The Mirror. He worked for.
Oh, the Mirror. Okay,
he worked for the magazine, the Mirror of Parliament, as a political journalist.
I thought you said the mayor, like MAYO. I'm like,
no, I'm sorry. I need to enunciate a bit more. He was mainly reporting on parliamentary debates and traveled across Britain to cover election campaigns for the Morning Chronicle. He eventually married Catherine Thompson Hogarth, who was the daughter of George Hogarth, and he was an editor of the Evening Chronicle.
Okay.
They had 10 children together and also had under their care his younger brother Frederick and sister-in-law Mary. And Mary is a key figure in Dickens's life. Much debate, I know, I've seen from the documentaries I've watched and some of the essays I've been reading. Yeah. Kind of for whoever's writing it will infer that he was in love with her. Oh. I mean, he definitely was in some capacity, whether that was platonic or not.
Okay.
That's
remains to be seen.
Remains to be seen. Yes. Just they were very attached to one another, and she eventually died in his arms.
Ooh.
And so a lot of female characters
die in man's arms.
I mean, they're based upon Mary, because he thought she was infallible and perfect in almost every way. And when she died, he went on these like esoteric ramblings and these idolatrous fantasies about her, and wanted himself to be buried in the same coffin when he died with her. So I don't feel that way about you, pal. So what is that? I mean, if I were to guess.
Yeah, we'll be in separate graves.
Yeah, I'll be cremated as a Buddhist. Yeah. But my ashes will be in a record.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my plans.
Are you going to send the record to me?
It'll be a listening party, I think. So, yeah, that was a hard time for Charles. He took that, just terribly. So then his novels started becoming successful. He then became discontent with his publishers and the growing power of the Tories, which essentially is what is now the Conservative Party in the UK.
Okay.
Typically, in this era, they're monarchists and oppose any sort of labor movement. And that time period was anyone they considered the Whigs. WHIGS.
Yes.
He described them in quote, "people whom politically I despise and abhor." In response to these changes in his world, he wrote them. He wrote 3 anti-Tory verse satires. One's called "The Fine Old English Gentleman," "The Quack Doctor's Proclamation," and "Subjects for Painters," all published by the Examiner.
Okay.
Then he went to America and was insanely unimpressed with the New World.
So basically what you're saying is he was not de Tocqueville.
No, he despised. He's like, yeah, this is stupid. Bro, look at these freaking, derelicts over here.
These people are formerly British, but they're
New York.
Doing their own.
New York? What is New York?
I prefer the old York.
Yeah, I prefer the old York.
The original. The OG York.
Anyway, so he began writing A Christmas Carol.
Okay.
And with the publishing of that is pretty much all renewed interest that we have with that particular holiday and the month of December. The reason why it's so popular now is because of Charles Dickens. A lot of the things that in that novel that he was talking about, traditions that he was carrying on, was typically word of mouth stuff, became like canon in terms of how people view Christmas.
Okay.
So that's why people call him the father of Christmas, or the man who invented Christmas. I know who it is, but like in terms of what, Christmas trees, Yule logs, and good tidings.
Well,
Christmas feasts.
I would disagree with that.
Historically, though.
Historically, Martin Luther is credited with having the first Christmas tree.
No, I get that. But
in terms of like popularization?
Popularization is all I'm talking about. Not a lot of people could afford the things that were in this book or didn't care about it anymore. It wasn't, yeah.
I thought you were going to say a lot of people couldn't afford Christmas trees. I'm like, yeah, back then they just go to their backyard and chop it down.
So after that, he decided that he was going to travel to Switzerland. This is around 1846. And around 1847, he started working on David Copperfield. And this is the artistic break of more serious themes. And he carefully planned out the entire narrative instead of just like, waiting for the publications, being paid word by word and all that. Yeah. He had it completely outlined. So David Copperfield is narrated by the title character, detailing adventures from infancy to maturity. It was published between 1849 and 50 as a serial and then as a book in 1850. It is a very complicated work that weaves truth and invention.
Okay.
Then, yeah, it is his favorite writer. So, now, dear boy, cross yourself, say a couple Hail Marys.
I'm not Catholic.
Because this is, well,
I don't pray to Mary.
We're going to get into some heavy stuff now. Or maybe not so heavy. We're going to really, this is where my thesis
some weighty
for this,
things.
Yes. We're going to talk about the world that Charles Dickens was familiar with and the things that he stood out for as a writer and as a social human being.
Okay.
He was a very political man.
Okay.
Yeah, political all his life. And I think in his novels, you can see that.
Okay.
He has a very clear distinction of who's wrong and who's right. And a lot of it has to do with his views on the Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
The appeal of David Copperfield is that it melts into autobiography. A lot of it is from Dickens's own life and experiences. He was always a proponent for social justice, specifically on exploited workers and fallen women. Fallen women, typically prostitutes. Mm-hmm. He set up a house for people that were, for women that needed a place. He was a vocal and fierce critic of the poverty and social stratification of Victorian society, the wealth disparity between the higher classes and the lower classes. Mm-hmm. Through his journalism, in his earlier career, he campaigned on sanitation and conditions of workhouses because he himself is
good.
Yeah. But his clear message really was brought out by his fiction. People were finally understanding it through the fiction, which is ironic.
Yeah.
He finally held the attention of every stratosphere of Industrial Revolution in the Victorian era. So much so that Queen Victoria was said to be an admirer of his work and would read his works on the day, during the night, and she would try and get people to also bring in and talk about it and dissect it. She recommended the work to her minister, Lord Melbourne.
Okay.
So he often depicted the exploitation and oppression of the poor and condemned public officials and institutions that not only allowed abuses to exist but also profited from it.
Okay.
This is where you need to just be like, oh Lord, here we go. Ready?
Here goes Beau again.
Karl Marx.
Okay.
Karl Marx asserted, in quote, that Dickens issued to the world more political and social truths that have been offered by all the professional politicians and publicists and moralists put together.
Okay.
So, fun fact, Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, kind of lived around the same.
Yeah, they're still like
moments of
late 1800s.
Yeah, mid to late 1800s. They lived in the same London.
Okay. Together.
They didn't know each other as far as we know, but we do know that Marx was a fan of Dickens.
Okay.
To keep in mind, right? Marx's whole basis, right, is that the proletariat will take over through revolutionary means.
Yeah, the workers overcome, yeah.
Very extreme. And I say very extreme because he wants a violent revolution.
Yeah.
Dickens was a little, he wasn't that extreme.
He wanted the same result.
Dickens was what we could probably say is like Bernie or any democratic socialist. He wanted it through reforms. Mm-hmm. He wanted it through peaceful means.
Okay.
So bear that in mind so that you got that in your head. Okay.
Okay.
Doesn't stop him from admiring it. Let's see. So what makes this time period so astounding is that before the Industrial Revolution, the nearest form of capitalism that we had in this world was in the agrarian society. Okay. Right? And then before that was mercantilism. Mm-hmm. Or mercantilism. However you want to say it.
It's mercantilism. Sounds better.
Let's see. If you don't know what mercantilism is sorry, I have it down here. Designed to maximize your exports and minimize imports for a sustaining economy. With that, because it's like, boats going out and going to other countries, that pretty much forced everybody to try and participate in some way, where you get this engrossing umbrella of, of the economy.
So basically people have been trading forever, but...
Right, we had bartering. Bartering was like the big thing.
But probably, in terms of modern times, infancy of globalism.
Yes.
Global trade.
Yes, there we go. Okay. Thank you. So, back then, it was a small world, right? You
buy your food from a local farmer. Most people were
influenced, influenced immediately through little villages or little not cohorts, but you get what I'm saying. Globalization and the need for quick commodities led to the Industrial Revolution. Yeah. The more they wanted to produce to get more and more and more, they needed to consolidate. Frick, I was really wanting to sound smart.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We all want to sound smart.
Yeah, they really wanted to consolidate. So then private property became a thing, right? And now instead of for example, the farmer would benefit directly, right? You profited from the land that you worked on, mm-hmm. and the animals that you have and the workers that you had, like they were given food for their family and the mm-hmm. people that they needed to provide for. Now, that was pretty much just a sole person had the property rights of a factory, and they could get it out in quick succession. So people wanted to profit or invest more and more into those companies, and destroyed the farmer. That's just a very reductive example.
Okay.
Right, where the farmer could not keep up with factory farming. That's why we're at where we're at with Tyson and Purdue and all those gross companies. Yeah, it's because you just can't. The point of capitalism is to get things now, drive profit up, not have as much.
Here's where we disagree, but okay.
Have as much, you want to profit as much as you can. So you're going to pay people exactly what you can get away with paying them.
Yeah.
And profiting from the rest of it. Do you agree with that or no?
No.
Okay. But the factory model of capitalism is all in one single location. Yeah. And instead of and so the farmer owned the land, mm-hmm. Had the animals, right? Now it was workers in one location that wasn't owned by them. They were paid for their skills.
Yeah.
But those skills were pretty much set as if you were a cog in a machine where you were just given mundane tasks over and over. Once that is now... So it's like not you. You don't directly in the Industrial Revolution, like 1844. Yeah. You create this thing for somebody who's hired you, but that thing that you're creating now is that there's nothing of you in there. So I just explained this so terribly. I'm so excited. Capitalism wasn't a thing. Essentially what I'm saying was not a thing as what we would define it as until the Industrial Revolution. Okay?
Yeah, that's true. I would agree with that statement.
It would come...
I agree with that statement.
Yeah. The urbanization of cities. People left rural towns to find work. And they were given, whatever they could afford. Yeah. So...
I would say... Capitalism's been around for a long time. I mean,
in some capacity, people have been
basically
profiting off of other people or benefiting from other people. Ever since we could say, like, hey, this rock is worth, like, 2 stalks of corn.
I think you have it in your mind that the only person who profits is the person who sells something. Because at its core, capitalism... It's a form of exchange. It's a service. So, like, if for example,
it is a form of exchange. Yes.
So, for example, if you need a rock, I'm selling a rock for $5. You could either not buy it, or you could buy it and have your rock. But now, so you have your rock. I have $5. Both win.
Yeah, but it's like the whole currency thing that's just.
So then, don't buy it.
I know, but you.
So I think
that's the thing. Though, like now you're forcing me to participate. If I really need it for survival.
Here's where I think you're going wrong.
Okay.
I think you see all the power with the producers, and no power for the consumers. If the consumer doesn't want to pay that price, they're not going to pay it. They're going to go somewhere else. And if nobody pays that price, that's going to put the producer out of business or force him to lower his costs.
Okay, so the argument I always hear is that without capitalism, there's no like innovation. I think that is completely wrong.
No, I think it's right.
Capitalism
but put your case
is just like competition. You want to make more money and spend less money as the person who probably has the same idea as you, the same trademark. But you need to hire people in order for one man to create some stupid vision, right? So you're going to hire people to keep other people in line. And the people that are actually creating something are getting paid less than the person that just had the idea. Okay. Tell me where that makes sense.
Well, without the idea, those people wouldn't have jobs.
Okay, so... Right, but that is so
and this
like...
is why you need to read Atlas Shrugged.
No, this is why you need to read Das Kapital.
Hey, I have the Communist Manifesto on my shelf at home. I haven't read it yet, but...
I also have some other works over here.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll show them to you.
But you know what? I'd like to take a time out here, point out to the audience.
Yes. What are we doing here?
We are disagreeing amicably.
Yep.
And time back in. Continue.
Sorry. If those of you who are on my side and don't like how I'm just butchering everything, I apologize. I thought I had this down. Let me explain like a core concept.
Yes.
That I really love. This is like my wheelhouse. One of my wheelhouses.
Okay.
In Karl Marx's economic and philosophical manuscripts of 1844, he has what he terms as the theory of alienation.
Okay.
So here's boiled down for you, okay? Theory of alienation is a theoretical basis that a worker loses the ability to determine life and destiny when deprived of the right to think, conceive, of themselves as director of their own actions, to determine the character of said actions, and to define relationships with other people, and to own those items of value from goods and services. Are you keeping up with me? That are produced by their own labor. Mm-hmm. Although the worker is an autonomous, self-realized human being, as an economic entity, the worker is directed by goals and diverted to activities dictated by a ruling class. though that ruling class owns the means of production in order to extract from the worker the maximum amount of surplus value in the course of business competition between industrialists. Mm-hmm. So industrialists, right? I'm talking about industrial revolution here.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? That's one of my favorite theories. I love talking about it.
I think it is, at least nowadays, false. I could see where he's coming from back then, with the Industrial Revolution and super poor factory conditions. But I think at its core, it's essentially saying that the worker, basically the worker who produces the, door or something has lesser value than his boss, essentially.
Yeah, and I think that for me, in my view, the capitalist model is not compatible with what you and I would term democracy. In its very nature,
I would disagree, but okay.
In its very nature, the structure of a business, of a corporation, is not a democracy whatsoever, right? You have.
No, it's a private enterprise.
That's what's messed up. Is that some conservatives like to talk about
how everything be public? What good has the government ever done for you?
Well, this form of government is not what I would like.
So you like higher gas prices, higher inflation?
No, I don't like any of that. All of that is just a simple construct to me. It's a construct that we've given meaning more so over our lives, which is kind of like what this theory is talking about. Is that instead of just human beings that are given, have God-given rights to just simply exist, are now forced in order to participate.
Who's forcing them?
The entire social structure. What do you mean who's forcing them?
Who's forcing them to?
Everybody. If you want to have basic income or you want to have health care, you have to work.
Yeah.
Why? What's the point?
So I should just sit around and be lazy and accept.
What's the point of living? Not to spend 8 to 12 hours at work every day.
Well, that's your opinion.
With 2 days off?
That's your opinion.
I know, but still, there's more to this than just
you don't see value. You don't see value in work.
I mean, I see value in there's value in working, but not slaving away. And when the amount of labor you put in does not equate to your, income, then what's the point?
But it's all relative, though.
It is very relative. That's my point. Is that none of the people who are working the hardest, who have to work longer days than some, general manager of some, corporate entity who gets to go on like these extravagant lunch breaks simply because of the people that work under him. That's kind of weird, in my opinion.
I think that's simplifying it too much.
Like Jeffrey Bezos gets to freaking build a rocket into space.
Yeah, but he also created possibly the greatest service in the world.
Probably, but that doesn't give him the right to his own, the drivers of said, goods. They don't get air conditioning in these stinking vans that they have to drive our packages around. The only time they get air is when they're driving. That's messed up. You're telling me that a man who's worth some odd billions of dollars can't sacrifice a little bit to get air conditioning in his cars?
To me, it's not his problem.
Should be his problem. If he's going to have that idea, he needs to protect everybody that's underneath him.
To me, every job you take is not necessarily one of desperation.
Explain. Hold on.
For example, if you don't want to be driving an Amazon truck, go get an education, and you won't have to drive a truck. If you have an education or in between jobs, you take that job knowing it's just for a season, and you know what you're getting into. To me, it's all about you have free will. Are you free will to take the job, or are you free will not take the job?
Yeah, well, okay, we have an agreement on that.
Yeah.
But why is it that, I'm very proud that I went to college. I finished college at a record rate for, even though if it was a state school. I know that there's some people like, oh, well, I went to Harvard. Cool for you, dude. Okay, I went to a state school and I have the same amount of education as you for half the freaking price. But we were told from the age of 18, which is not a long time to live in this world, that you needed to have everything mapped out for you, and you had to go to college, and you had to take out loans in order to get to college. That's kind of messed up, right? I mean, so now I'm in debt, and the only way to pay off that debt is to participate. We don't live, so it's not really much of a capitalist society. It's more like a debtor society. You get people in debt, now you've trapped them. So that's what the alienation comes. Is that like, I'm not. If I was an Amazon worker, it's like cool. I'm putting packages in boxes, gifts in boxes and stuff. It's like, well, that's not me. Who am I? I feel that way all the time about other things.
I have a few thoughts on this.
Go for it.
One, most people don't like their jobs.
That's alienation right there. Yeah.
But most people take those jobs. They elect to take those jobs. That's the
because
first
they have to take those jobs.
They can take other jobs.
They can't take other jobs, but like some other jobs pay more than others.
No one's putting a gun to their head and saying, "Go take this job."
Well, no one's putting a gun to their head. But theoretically, there's stigma of not working in this country, and that's wrong.
You think people just like sit on their butts all day? How are they going to pay for anything?
That's my point. Is that there's certain things that you can't pay for. Shouldn't be able to pay for.
But you have to.
Why?
You got to make ends meet.
That's fine, but the capitalist model does not allow just
capitalism is the best economic system that for human nature. Socialism, one, communism has never worked. Two, socialism has brought up way more people out of poverty. Excuse me, capitalism has brought more people out of poverty, whereas socialism lowers everybody.
See, that's a weird misconception.
They may be equal. No, there's statistics like that.
I don't think socialism. I don't want to make rich people poor.
But that's what you're doing with socialism.
I would like everyone else to just have a basic necessity of life. That's all I want is a basic. Is just like.
But you're not factoring in human nature. There are some people who are going to make poor decisions.
Right. But there's not bad people.
Yeah, there are. We're all bad. We're all sinful.
Yeah, but not.
You're trying to tell me somebody who murders his family is on par with somebody who, I don't know, steals a.
Hold on. Well, hold on. Let's not go about the ins and outs of like how do we measure out.
But how else are you gonna know? Because here's the thing. I think you look at.
Well, then we have to define the terms of what is justice. What would justice be to me or you?
Okay, like meaning.
How would you measure that out?
Meaning what? Like.
I mean, murder and theft are totally different things.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm just saying there are people who make very, very poor decisions, and actions have consequences.
But some of those people are making such decisions because they have no way out.
But you're blaming. No one's forcing them to murder people. No one's forcing them to steal.
You're right. You're right about that. But I don't think capitalism is as has the same amount of equality as you give it, because you always have to profit off of somebody else. You have to make more than somebody else. There's no ethical consumption.
It's a voluntary exchange.
Especially with how globalized everything is. But you look about it.
It's a voluntary exchange. If I don't want something, I'm not going to pay for it.
That's right. But
if
you still have to pay for something.
If you're selling something that I want, but I don't want to pay that price, I'm not going to pay you. If you're selling it for a price I agree to.
Right.
Because that's the thing about capitalism. Everyone thinks like,
holy smokes, just stop it with the stomping.
You're getting mad at them, not me.
Yeah, not you. Sorry.
Don't worry, folks. We're okay to each other. We're smiling at each other.
Give me
as heated it might seem.
Give me one of these Mad cookies.
Every transaction in capitalism is a voluntary transaction. So therefore, both parties benefit.
We talk about like keeping out for your JFK talks about what can you do for your country. Yeah. Well, what should I do? Because the people who are profiting off of working class people, middle class people, lower class people, but they don't have to give as much as they do. They don't have to give as much time sometimes, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I think the whole thing is freaking rigged. And I don't think it's ethical to, have to justify, making people work. Like you're born on this planet. You're given one life, and you're going to tell me that you would rather spend it working 2 jobs?
That's what you have to do. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just a construct, and I don't think there's any. I don't think there's I don't think capitalism is the only answer in order to get people to live and participate. I think if people were given more of a choice.
I mean, if you want to go live in a hut in the middle of nowhere in a commune, then
that would be my choice.
Yeah.
But
exactly, capitalism.
You're only, I don't know, but I don't know. I just think like there is a complete, like an egalitarian class. You know how much of the, like in just America alone, how much wealth is, passed down, is generational.
So what's wrong with that? If you make a lot of money, why wouldn't you want to pass down to your kids?
So you're certain people of like the Vanderbilt family.
Yeah.
They don't have to work, but they're rich, and that makes it okay.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, does it?
So they're just being as slothful as
All I'm saying.
People you don't want.
All I'm saying. Let's say you die and you have $10 million.
Okay.
Who do you want to go to? Let's say you have 5 kids.
5 kids.
You can eat 1, 2, whatever, just a number.
Shoot, boy. I don't
do you
know.
want to go to the state? You want to go to your kids?
Probably has to go to the state.
No. Not that it has to. Where do you want it to go?
It should go to the welfare state.
Okay, so you would give all the money you've earned in your lifetime to the state.
I'm not going to make $10 million.
This is a theoretical here.
Theoretically?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would just have to go to the state.
Okay. Well, I guess that's where you and I differ. If I ever make $10 million, I want to pass whatever is left down to my kids. Keep it in the family.
I don't want to say it's like a virtuous thing. It's just, I don't know. Now, no man is a rock. You have to take care of your own and your people.
Yeah, I will be taking care of my own.
Now let's get this one thing straight. I don't like Leninism. I'm not a Marxist-Leninist. Okay, there's a clear distinction. You probably like I'm a follower of Chomsky and all that, so Trotskyism sounds about right, I guess. I don't know. I just want to make it clear that I'm not a
capitalist.
I'm not a huge capitalist or state capitalism. I think all of that's rough. Look, it's all rigged. We're in this really weird and corrupt point in our path of life right now. I think we can both agree on that. That things are not what they should be.
I don't know. I'm an eternal optimist, so I see possibilities everywhere.
See, I'm a cynic.
Yep. Another place you and I differ.
Yeah.
But notice, folks, we are talking amicably here.
That's true.
Beau, I just want to let you know, I don't hold anything against you for being a communist.
And I don't hold anything against you for being a capitalist.
Yes.
Although I would like to change things.
Well, same here.
Again, people, we apologize for anyone whose just skin is crawling right now. Okay? I don't like the system. It is clear as day that is my opinion. I just despise it.
Even on like a dark day and cloudy day?
Even on a sunny morning.
We said clear as day, so I was trying to
that's true.
Play off that. What else about Copperfield?
Okay.
Because I do think we kind of... No, I wouldn't say we went off on a tangent. It's related, but it was a little more personal. But,
so, it was a personal...
Don't worry, folks. We're going to end on a light note, too.
Yeah.
How that's going to end, I don't know, but...
My thesis, especially in terms of how I interpret art and artists in general, okay, and this is my thesis going into David Copperfield.
Okay.
Follow me now.
Yep.
The conditions of the artist's life influences the conditions of the art.
Oh, for sure.
Okay? The only way you can understand work is through the work of the artist. And that's not putting moral judgment on them. It is saying what is here.
Oh, no, I think...
And that your life is also part of your own art.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the only way you can truly understand somebody is understand their context.
Yes. So, in this way, I'm theorizing that works of fiction, what my thesis is, right? Works of fiction and other creations, right? Music,
film,
painting, film, can work as data of that artist's material world.
Okay.
So, in poetic terms, this is the work of art is a symbol system that works as a screen of perception holding within it some sort of truth within a collection of just like lies and fictions.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If that doesn't make sense, hit me up on Instagram. So Dickens himself was a master of weaving the harsh backdrop of society's crumbling feudal structure. Was a master of weaving a masterpiece from detail after detail of people, mainly from a largely ignored underclass, against the harsh backdrop of a society's crumbling feudal structure, slowly and inexorably giving way to industrial capitalism. That's from an essay I read by two people from Oklahoma University. It is Amy E. Stearns and Thomas J. Burns. This is about the human condition in the works of Dickens and Marx. It's a really good essay. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably send you a link to it so you can put it down.
Like on X, formerly known as Twitter?
Well, I think you can like add links on like Apple Podcast or the podcast stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll add it.
Yeah. So that's what makes Dickens so universal, is that these are real characters, and some of their mannerisms are so detailed, that they're so identifiable that's what he's focusing on.
Okay.
Are the people in his life.
Mm-hmm.
So David Copperfield in this light is an expose of darker workings in a society that considered itself enlightened, which it wasn't, because here's the reality. This is what influenced Engels and Dickens. Dickens and Engels in separate times visited what they called shanty towns in Manchester.
Yeah.
What is today Manchester.
Yeah.
People were living under terrible shacks that were just compressed upon other shacks. Yeah. Some people on ground floor were living in pretty much on dirt.
Oh, I'm not.
Tuberculosis was up. Typhus was like these kids were dying of diseases and forced to work. That's unethical. And yet there was a class above them that was living lavishly. They were wearing dresses that were worth more than those workers in those shanty towns' entire yearly salary. That's kind of messed up. That's pretty dark. That's not enlightened, and that is not equal.
Well, when you say enlightened, I think it's more nuanced than that. I think there are certain segments that are enlightened, like the technology that was invented to eventually begin the Industrial Revolution. Like, that's enlightenment. You're talking about like a conscious enlightenment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just because like the plow mill or steam mill, like just because that was invented. Yeah. Right. I mean, that is an enlightened theory, but then the work that came upon that, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, definitely conditions were bad back then, but I will say there's always been poor. There will always be poor.
Yeah. So the heavy themes that the novel's imbued in is the ideology of the middle class, advocating for moral constancy, hard work, separate spheres for men and women, status of women in marriage, the art of knowing one's place. Some other themes, worker exploitation, the plight of fallen women and prostitutes, and the middle class's attitudes towards them. Rigid class structures, the prison systems, educational standards, immigration, and society's treatment towards mental health. And these are all themes that everyone's talking about today. That's why it's so wonderful and so relevant. Okay. Is because we're still, you and I, right now, are fighting over these same freaking things.
We are fighting, yes.
Although,
friendly fighting.
We're both friendly
fighting.
Friendly fighting.
F squared.
F squared. So these themes he either talks about directly or satirizes, because that's what he was. He was a satirist, kind of like Twain.
Okay.
So the story is about loss on a social level and a personal level. In Bleak House and Hard Times, that is Dickens' more direct social stance, where it is like a multitude of characters, and it's just talking about the life of that time. Okay. David Copperfield is what they call I'm going to butcher this if you're still with us, Bildungsroman, which is a fancy term for a work that is a psychological and moral growth of the protagonist as he reflects pivotal moments to explain his present circumstance.
Okay.
And that's what David Copperfield is. And it's essentially Dickens doing that. It's kind of like Proust, where he's trying to explain where he's at now by defining what happened in his past.
Okay.
And with that, you might consider David Copperfield to be, and we'll probably see this, a failed, narrator.
Okay.
Right? He's not reliable, to a lot of people. And they're probably right. So Dickens himself, through David Copperfield, is, in quote, is also avenged through the price of transforming himself from child laborer into the writer turned poet into a paid wage laborer, which for Dickens is a necessary cost of the formation of what is now the modern professional writer. So in order to release himself of his life and his sins and the things that he had to go through, he's forcing himself to remember. He's forcing himself through this fictional character. And we'll see that there's things that he willingly will gloss over or say, like, obviously, like, this is from a different time period. So we can probably go back to some of these topics later on when we finish the work.
Yeah, I mean, how many episodes are you envisioning with this?
I don't know. It's a 700-page novel.
I imagine it's going to go a lot quicker than Proust.
And the thing is I knocked out Great Expectations in like a week.
Yeah, well, you have a lot more free time than I do.
400 pages. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That's like 400 pages, I think.
Okay.
I know. I think we can just get away with doing one episode.
Really?
I do. And I'll be more prepared.
We'll see. I mean, I think we should do 2 just because I'm going to read it at a much slower pace than you just because I have so much more going on. We don't want like 4 or 5 months in between.
No, we don't. I would wager we can get this done in a month.
Well, you can. I can't.
I think you can. We got Christmas break coming up.
Yeah, I'm traveling though.
Come on.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, we'll play it by ear.
Yeah, that's fine.
I do think we should have about 2, but if we only have 1, that's fine. But I just don't know. I don't know when I'm going to finish it because I don't know when I have time to read.
So, hold on. Let me clarify one thing.
Yeah.
I mentioned that Dickens could probably be like Bernie Sanders or something like that. Socialism, is what we now know it, was not a thing during Dickens' lifetime. Mm-hmm. Okay. Karl Marx, like communism was kind of becoming a thing, or Marxism was theorized. There was no like practicing politician running on.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I completely acknowledge it was a completely different society.
Yeah, but you can also see the ramifications and influence that it has on today's society.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why people would want that.
What do you mean?
Like, want a more socialistic society.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I really like the theory of alienation. Is that now I have created 2 of myselves. I have a work self, and then I have a myself.
Yep.
Like my human, like the being and like my soul. We can call it a soul, right?
Yep.
Because of the efforts it takes for the majority of my day to be work Beau.
Yep.
By the time I get home, I am drained. I'm tired. Okay. More than likely depressed, or I'm anxious. And that's not right. That's not. I don't know. I feel like bare bones what humanity is, the influence of my life. I don't want that. I want a different type of society where everyone is equal to the same God-given rights as I am. That's all.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I just think that capitalism is counterintuitive to democracy, or counterproductive as well.
I do not, but I've already made my case.
I know. I feel like I haven't made mine, and I'm like trying to compensate. And I feel bad for people who are in my camp.
One thing I would say was, okay, if you find a job you like, you'll never work a day in your life.
That's true.
And so if you were doing something you enjoyed that pays you enough to get by, you would not feel as defeated when you got home from work.
That's true, but sometimes, like, what if I wanted to be a bookkeeper? I wanted to own a bookstore.
Then you'd find a way to make it happen.
I would find a way to make it happen, but I would also have to realize that I'm not going to make as much money as some other, like, Wall Street schlub.
But life isn't fair.
And that's messed up. I believe that life should be fair.
Once you wrap your mind around that, you will have more success in life.
Maybe. I mean, I've been told my whole life I need to start growing up. But I don't think there's anything wrong with my line of thinking.
No, I mean, I think you're thinking wrong, but
there's a lot of
that's just
my opinion.
That's
the thing. There's like a lot of people I know think I'm thinking wrong.
Yeah.
This is a cry for help.
Well, Beau,
I'm trying to reach out.
Beau, I'm here to help you, buddy.
I'm trying to reach out.
Come to the bright side.
Oh, there's no bright side there. And I'm not umbrellaing people that if you like capitalism, I'm not saying you're an unethical person. Let's get that out of the way. We're living under a certain society. You have to participate, or you have to be in some sort. You live under it. You're forced to live under it. So do the right thing. Always. Like Spike Lee said.
Yep.
Whatever that may be. Let me leave it with a quote.
Yeah.
From Stearns and Burns. In whatever genre, a distinguishing characteristic of a master is the ability to combine scope of vision with detail and depth of vision.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, I think I'm really going to enjoy this because I've never read any Dickens.
That's a shame.
Well, I've never read any?
Yeah.
We never read any Ayn Rand, so that's a shame too.
Yeah, but I think Dickens is probably more highly regarded than Ayn Rand. Everybody knows Dickens.
That's true.
Only a certain amount of people know
The
Fountainhead.
Atlas Shrugged sells like hundreds of thousands of copies every year.
Yeah, but Christmas is yearly, baby. Everybody knows Ebenezer Scrooge.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, he's probably more well-known for sure than Rand. But in terms of influence, probably the same. All I'm getting at is, what was I getting at? I don't know, you interrupted me.
Sorry.
Oh, I know what I was getting at. I think I'm going to thoroughly enjoy this work.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I agree with his statements, I don't know. But, you have to be able to enjoy things that you don't agree with. I look at it as like a work of art.
Yep.
And as long as it's well constructed, actually, at the end of the day, even if I don't like it, I will be able to articulate why I don't like it, and I will be able to have conversations with people who love it. And it's such a culturally relevant, important work in history of the world that
that's the thing.
I'm excited to read it.
If like I said with Queen Victoria, definitely would not see eye to eye politically with Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
Right? But she herself was able to see that beyond the work, that this was like a masterful, like these characters that Dickens was writing, it was worth investing in. Yeah. So I think that's part of his appeal, is that his regardless of politics, these are stories about good people under harsh circumstances.
Yeah.
I think there are clear antagonists, but I think that the antagonists themselves believe in what they're doing is right, and they're under like the conditions of their life, so they're trying to do the best that they can, which gives it a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I was trying to say with blending Marx and stuff into that is like that's the angle I'm taking with this work of art.
Angle?
Yeah.
No!
Hey!
You made a pun, you didn't even know it.
I'm proud of myself for that.
Yeah.
That was off the top of my head. But that's when we go into the overall episode, hopefully I can like get my points more across now that I've read the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is just an intro to my train of thought.
This is our longest episode in a while.
We're at 1 hour and 56 minutes.
Boom.
So if you've made it this long, thank you.
Yeah. Send us some notes and we'll send you some merch. And yeah, Beau, we're gonna get some pizza now.
No
mushroom. Nope, no melon mushroom.
No melon mushroom today.
Well, you still owe me a meal.
Oh,
For those of you out there who don't know, I helped Beau move in his apartment on the absolute hottest day of the year.
It was 120 with the heat index or something.
I think I showed up like 8 a.m. Didn't leave here till like 9.
I think it was longer.
I remember I drove your mom back.
You did, yeah. Yeah, my lord.
Yeah.
So, really came in for me on that one. I had never had a more blistering headache than I did that day. Yeah. Frick me. You know what? We're gonna get out of here because I'm gonna run right upstairs and be like, "You ruined my entire recording." So.
Yeah, for those of you out there who know where Beau lives, come upstairs and go to his upstairs neighbors and give him a stern talking to.
Yeah, public etiquette, proper etiquette. I appreciate everybody who's stuck around.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you later.
All right, see you.
See ya.